Holy moly, it is bright outside. But I found a park I haven't been to before, so I'm checking that out. Look over here. They're like doing a shoot over there. Can you see those guys? Can you see them somewhere over there? Am I looking in the right direction? You see the guys? They're doing a shoot over there. You know, so naturally I parked nearby and blasted Tyler the Creator full volume. There's also like a train car over here, so let's go see what the deal is with that as I wait for people to show up to my live. Shouts out to all my VOD viewers. Usually who I speak to first, since I know that you will be more likely to be here than people who are not here. You know, that only makes sense. Hello, says Jake L. Hello to you too. I always like to greet the very first person who enters the chat, you know, because it's like seen as faux pas by some people, which makes it even funnier to do. This is an interesting park. It's next to what I assume is a decommissioned railroad, or maybe this is just the very same train that goes through Norfolk. You can see back here, train. I'm in the city of Chesapeake right now. Bathetic arts, eh? Yes, indeed. I am the very, very best at the bathos. I'm the master of the Bathetic arts. The master of funny and then sad and then funny and then sad type content. You know, stuff that throws you for a loop. Makes you feel like you're not sure how to feel. Because it's jumping everywhere all the time. ADHD emotions. I guess they just call that BPD. BPD style emotions. Just gonna start calling my stuff like, yeah, I make a schizophrenia type content. I make a BPD style content. Just let people decide what that means for themselves. There's like a stage here, but it's not. There's not like a. It's funny that it's like it's a stage, but it's like you get up to it just by walking up the grass, I guess. Well, on stage, of course. All right, this is now about to become a stage performance. Look at this. In 3 hours, I'll be performing in front of 50,000 people right here. That is a lie. But wouldn't that be cool? Imagine me doing like a Trial of the Golden Witch performance to an outdoor audience on a stage like this. Like, the size of the stage in particular like makes it comical for me to think about as like a lone performer doing bedroom raps on this huge stage. I'd be going ballistic. I'd be running around, jumping around and shit. Imagine there's literally nobody around, so I just perform on stage. I'm trying to visualize this being full of people. Me just coming out to all of them. Well, I wouldn't want to stand this far back. I would want to be up at the front of the stage. I'll just pretend that the front of the stage is right here where the light begins. Because I can't get a shot that'll work from off stage. It'd be like... have to start with some shit like that. All the flames go up. Let me make my meaning opaque. I rake money or honey, I skate. God, imagine a whole crowd going up to, I'm not here to masturbate our egos. I'm just here to cultivate big zeros. I can't. The song is too fast for me to imagine a crowd of that size jumping to it. I have to actually, like, I think I have to make slower songs if I want to make a crowd, like a whole crowd. Well, maybe 100K. You guys haven't heard this song yet. My song's like 100K, 100K. I can see people jumping to that. Popularly played in your room like PlayStation. Probably delayed in the groom from creation. Properly portrayed by a gloom incarnation. Shit, I fucked up the lyrics. Whatever. That's how the flow goes at that song. The Pusha with Australian $2. Any gay or trans comedians that you like? I mean, I feel like there's plenty. Definitely plenty of gay comedians. It's hard for me to know. Like, Eddie Izzard is the first trans comedian that comes to mind. He's been around forever. They, she. I'm actually not sure how Eddie identifies right now. I know it was, like, over time there's been a gradual, like, originally identifying as fluid, and I think they might have fully transitioned female now. So she, Eddie Izzard. I don't actually know if she still goes by that name. Who else is a good trans comedian? There's plenty of comedians that are like sus, you know? Plenty of comedians that are like probably gay or probably trans or secretly gay or secretly trans. I always thought Wanda Sykes was funny. Tim Dillon. Just watched a special of his earlier. So yeah, I don't know. All comedians are gay and trans. Bro, just leave the phone at home from time to time. How would you leave your house without your phone? What? What the fuck are you talking about? Leave the house without the phone from time to time? What the fuck do you have a phone for? Oh, think about what you're saying. What's up, Trixie? How you are doing? I'm doing good. I found a stage. Check it out. There's nobody around, so I've decided that I am now the stage. I am now the act to the empty field here. I'm trying to imagine what kind of songs I would have to write to, like it was like an immediate striking feeling as I looked out over this field and thought, like, by daybreak is too fast for this. It's too fast to imagine this crowd of people finding the rhythm of it, you know? Like, it really makes me understand why that exact like Hotline Bling tempo is like the perfect tempo for a mass crowd song, you know? Or Kanye West, like, pretty much always doing tempo 100, you know, like, perform for us. I was actually right before you got here, but I could again, but I had to pick a song. I have to think of what song I want to perform on the big stage. What song do I have that, well, I guess, you know, like, even Fat and Dangerous is kind of fast for being what it is. For being like a fat, thumpy song, it's actually, well, you know, it was always kind of ironic in that sense, because I was never that fat, but, man, I want to see Billy the Fridge perform up here. Listen to that new Billy the Fridge album. That shit is dope as fuck. I had no idea he was putting out an album until it was out, and then I was like, what? And I listened to it, and I was like, holy fucking shit, this rules. There's a song called Kill Tony, basically a fanfic about going on Kill Tony, bombing, and then murdering everyone, and it's pretty great. And there's a song about praying to Mr. Beast as the new Jesus. and a lot of songs about being fat and dangerous. Does he still do the Drunken Peasants? Yes, he does. It's him and Ben. I think that's his name, right? Ben. I hope I'm not getting his name wrong. I haven't watched it in a long time. And I always, when somebody has a very simple name, I tend to get it confused with other simple names. But yeah, Billy the Fridge still on Drunken Peasants, still does amazing rap albums. He's been losing weight lately, you know, so he might not be fat and dangerous forever. But he's out there, you know, he out there doing it. Cool guy. I definitely co-signed Billy the Fridge. I'd like to get him on my next album. I haven't decided. I haven't found the right beat yet. I need a real fucking knocker of a beat to feature Billy the Fridge. You know, I'm not gonna disrespect him with a weak beat. You know. Lapusha with Australian $2. All your favorite gay and trans musicians. Holy shit. I mean, again, categorically, they're like all gay or trans or both or something, but like, off the top of my head, like half of everything I fucking listened to last year was trans music. So Angel Electronics was my favorite, like, super underrated, very under-discovered album of last year. I came very close to writing a massive article about it, but I decided not to because it was like too emotional, and I don't know if I'm ready to pull the trigger on it yet, but on being that emotionally open or honest. But nonetheless, and especially, you know, affecting other people by being emotionally open or honest. But in any case, I really loved that album. Ada Rook is one of my favorite, like, independent musicians. Although, you know, if you listen to the song I'm Cis, I don't know if she self-identifies as trans, so, you know, it's hard to have these conversations. It's always a little weird to, like, talk about people in the context of, like, that they are gay or trans, like, because that's not categorically the main thing that, you know, would group them into their musical category necessarily. Like, I know there's a lot of trans hyperpop artists, and I do connect with probably more trans musicians than most people just because I am trans, so those themes relate to me. But, you know, that thematic coding, it doesn't always mean something to me. I have to like the music too, you know. So I wouldn't say it's like I categorically listen to trans music. Just so happens that a lot of the musicians I like, I find out are trans or gay, you know. I was really late to the party on Sophie. You know, she's already dead by the time I started listening to her. But Pony Boy is an amazing song. 100 Gex, I'm a huge fan of. You know, Laura Les, definite personal icon to me. Somebody like, oh, you know, I could see myself having this kind of trajectory of a career if I were more serious and talented and, you know, tried harder to succeed. And then who else is there that I'm a big fan of? There's so many. Like, I've got a lot of personal friends that I would put on this list, you know, like half the fucking producers I work with are trans. So just basically, I mean, shout out everybody who's gonna show up on my next album, probably. Like, you know, half the features, most of the producers. But I don't know how comfortable people are being talked about in that context either, you know, like, unless they're out and out, like, making their identity about being a trans artist, which most people aren't, you know. And I don't know if it's, when it comes to gay musician, I'm just like, I don't know, there's 700 of them I could think of. Like, the first one that came to mind was Baths, just because I think about him being gay more because it comes up in his lyrics. Actually, Cakes to Killa, what the fuck am I thinking? Cakes to Killa is my favorite gay musician and trans musician, so I should have just led with that. I was listening to Cakes on the way here. I don't know how Cakes slipped through my head, but yeah, Cakes to Killa is the greatest LGBT musician, by far my favorite of my generation. my favorite musician of my generation who has not like, you know, blown up on that like mainstream level, you know. I wouldn't go so far as to call Cakes underground. Not that anything is really underground anymore, but definitely has never gotten the recognition that he deserves for just being one of the best. You know, just like amazing rapper, amazing song, you know, conceptualist, style icon, general diva queen. But you know, Sewer Slut, new post 2 weeks ago. I never got super into Sewer Slut, mostly because it's a little too dissociative for me. That's like on the level of stuff that immediately becomes background noise to me if I start listening to it, you know? In a similar category to that though, I don't know how many people, I don't know if I've talked about maidcore on this channel at all. Actually, now I'm thinking about it. Have I talked about maidcore at all? So, okay, this is important because most of y'all probably haven't heard of this. Maidcore is this Russian subgenre of, I guess I would call it breakcore mixed with like nu metal with shades of other stuff, you know, but like it's just really dense, really loud, distorted, walls of like synths, like, you know, shoegaze kind of sound combined with the aggressiveness of like IDM or metal or something. And I talked about it on the Discord. Okay, so the way I found out about this, you will easily be able to introduce yourself to maidcore by just simply typing that word into YouTube, because there's a whole shitload of compilations, like just playlists of maidcore songs. The one that got me into it, it's like a mostly black picture, but there's like a square where there's like a maid. I think she's like smoking a cigarette and playing video games, and it's drawn in like a really sketchy art style. It just looks like something, you know, I'd like. So, you know, I just clicked on that one day because it was recommended to me by YouTube and found out about this whole thing. And it's mostly propped up by, there's an artist called Yakui the Maid who, I guess there's a Russian version of like Facebook that's a little bit more music centric that's called VK, I think. And, you know, forgive me if I fuck all this up. You can go look at wikis that have this information if you just need the raw data. But like the, you know, this artist Yakui the Maid basically just used the title The Maid, features like anime maid drawings on all of their album covers, and performs this very, you know, odd type of distorted, like shoegazy, nu metal-y breakcore, basically. And it's again along the line of like a Sewer Slut and those kinds of compilations that you find of, you know, just any type of breakbeat style. I'm not going to break down every fucking genre, D&B, you know, all the crap that you see the big playlists of on YouTube. But maidcore is like, oh, finally they made a genre for me. They made an obscure EDM slash metal genre just for me. I'm so happy about it. And somehow it came from Russia. But yeah, so Yakui the Maid was the first like really popular one and very prolific. And then, you know, a few other people on the same site using the same premise just started calling themselves like Itai the Maid or something the Maid. You know, Itai in particular is like a little bit more nu metal, a little more edgy, you know, whereas Yakui is a little more spacious. There's some people who, you know, their approach is even more spacious. It's like everybody's got their own take on it, but it's still in the same general vibe that gels really well for playlists that just combine a bunch of stuff from different The Maid artists. So yeah, I would recommend just listening to those maidcore playlists on YouTube if that sounds like your type of thing. If you're into music like Sewer Slut, it's hard for me to imagine you wouldn't get anything out of any maidcore artist, you know. So so check that out. Had to get that out there. Probably gonna cut that segment into a short later, just so that so there's a little video about maidcore on the channel, because I am like, a little shocked I have never talked about it, because I got like really obsessed with it like 8 months ago or something like that. Yeah. If anybody wants me to rant about anything like I just did about Maidcore, go ahead and send me a super chat with whatever the fuck. I'll read it. You know, not only do you get your text read out loud, which means I say whatever you wrote. Ooh, what if you wrote something crazy? But also I answer any questions you have. So, you know. And I tend to just go at as much length as I have answer to the question, pretty much regardless of what I get paid. You know, I try to make sure that if you pay a lot, I'll really stretch it. You know, I will sap every last drop of. How do you get? Is it water from a stone? Is that the expression? Is that the idiom? Whatever. I wasn't expecting to do a stream here because I didn't know this place existed until about 20 minutes ago. Well, I guess I've been streaming for 20 minutes. 30 minutes ago. You know, I was out doing an errand. I pretty much planned to start streaming as soon as I had finished this errand and not stop until possibly the end of the day, because Bird is working till 10, so I got nothing else to do. But I was considering doing a stream of just me editing my next anime video, and because that's gonna take all day. And I don't want to have to do that and not stream, so I figured, why not just do it and stream it? That makes perfect sense. Just stream the whole editing process. What the hell do I care? So I might end up stopping this vertical stream at some point to go do a horizontal stream of me editing. But since I was out anyways, I was like, what if I investigated the parks out here in Chesapeake? See what we've got, you know? See if there's a place I could be doing these walk-around vlogs a little farther from the house, see something new. And what do you know? There's an enormous, gorgeous park right next to where I happen to be. Omar Fejzik with $2. You like Maidcore, but what about Breakcore or D&B? I like them sort of inattentively, if that makes sense. So, like, I grew up, I would say my early exposure to these genres is old video games, which I guess is true for a lot of people, especially from my generation, but like, the earliest exposure I remember having to any form of what I would call techno was from Tetrasphere, which is an N64 game with a fucking awesome soundtrack. And it's a puzzle game based on Tetris, but with around, like, you're basically on like a little planet and you're like blowing into the planet. It's a really trippy game, and it was too hard for me as a kid, but my mom got really into it. My mom loves puzzle games. Mostly she plays like Facebook puzzle games and shit, but like, you know, if I give my mom a puzzle game, she will try her best to master it. So she got really into Tetrasphere, and I would just watch her play it because I had like spent my first allowance on this fucking game, you know, and it was just the only thing I could afford at fucking Babbage's in 1997 with my new N64. So so I watched my mom play Tetrasphere, and I just thought the music was fucking kick-ass. You know, I'd never heard anything that sounded like it, but I thought it was all cool. And actually, before that, the Mortal Kombat theme song is kind of in that vein. I don't know if it falls under D&B or Breakcore, but, you know, I was definitely mad into the Mortal Kombat song when that first came out. So that's like all I remember of like 90s techno when it was happening. And then, you know, over the years, as I got into music, I was always more focused on like metal and prog, and then eventually more on hip hop, and like that whole, just the whole rock, pop, hip hop, experimental, progressive, anything in those categories is stuff I tend to listen to. And so there's a lot of crossover with electronic into that stuff. And when it when it is crossover, it tends to appeal to me more. That's why Maidcore appeals so much. It's like it's got the heavy guitars, you know, and like that is a comfort zone for me. So it's Maidcore is very much comfort music for me. It's like if I was feeling, you know, emotionally out of it, you know, if I was like, I can't anymore today, you know, like throw on some Maidcore and bliss out, sort of. Same vein as a Sweet Trip, actually, as another band that, like, yeah, there's elements of like IDM and stuff in there, but it's because they combine it with the rock and dream pop type stuff that it really clicks with me. So like when it comes to D&B and breakcore and stuff, again, I will look at those fucking playlists because YouTube pushes me this shit constantly. If I've got autoplay on, pretty much any video I let autoplay to the end, it's going to jump me into some kind of breakcore mix or jungle mix, or, you know, particularly jungle. That's probably my favorite of the varieties of those because it's more ADHD and clicky clacky and stuff, you know. But I'm also not terribly well versed in these genres. Again, to me, they are basically playlists on YouTube, more than they are like individual artists, you know. Doesn't help that they usually have wacky ass names that you couldn't possibly fucking remember. Anyway, Critical Quality with $5. Thank you very much. Just heard about Best Guy Ever recovering his channel from YouTube purgatory. Any chance of YouTube collabing for more anime content in the near future? Probably not in the near future because I believe he moved back to Boston. So, you know, it's kind of funny. I didn't know he was moving back to Boston right as I was moving back into this area. I don't think either of us knew the other person was moving. But, you know, he's been good friends with my brother Victor ever since he moved down here. They just took a whole trip to Japan together that Vic talked about on Vic and Hope. I was just watching, like literally today, they did their second live stream about that trip they took with Nate and Michelle and our friend Marcus. And so, you know, I think they also met up at Anime Boston recently, because Vic and Hope went up there to that. But yeah, I haven't been in the same place as him or anything in like a year and a half or talked to him, so I don't know. It's not impossible that something like that would happen in the future, but there is no plan for it. So near future, not likely. My plans for the near future are to constantly live. Actually, I'm gonna go ahead and say that based on the content of these live streams, there is no fucking way that Nate would want to work with me, because I've been doing nothing but starting fights and like creating like threats and you know, just making like the main reason Nate didn't want to work with me anymore in the first place is that I was making these kinds of uncomfortable associations and being just sort of a internet scumlord, you know, and he wants no part of that. So I would say not terribly likely he's going to want to work with me in the near future. You know, been out of the loop. Definitely miss you guys chewing on anime together. Well, if you want to hear a similar kind of show, the We Watch Anime show with me and Bird is kind of the same concept. You know, basically in the case of both Nate and Bird, and for what it's worth, when I was doing content, probably like less than halfway into the amount of it that we did, you know, I started dating Bird, and in the time that I've been with him, we always have watched all the anime together. And very importantly, he can keep track of the plot. And I am fucking terrible at that. As soon as a story starts getting complicated, I lose track of what's going on. I start misinterpreting shit. I start dissociating through dialogue scenes, you know, like it's really hard for me to handle the super plot heavy shows, especially if I'm not that invested. So he's always doing a better job of keeping track of what actually happened in the show and, you know, sort of making sure that my explanation checks out as I'm trying to describe it. Which, you know, Nate very similarly was able to do that. Both of them are people who I couldn't have talked about Attack on Titan at all if I didn't have the help of either Nate or Bird at a given time, because they could actually process the whole plot, and I was just like, I don't care. I'm having a real struggle with the caring about the plot part. Show me more people get eaten by Big Monster Man, you know. Yeah. So the content show, The We Watch Anime show does not have the live action element of us being on screen and all that, because that was a huge pain in the ass to organize and do. Instead, we used screen caps of each episode. Basically, I would take like 7 or 8 screen caps, mostly to jog my memory, because like I go between the screen caps as we go through the episode. So like we do the episodes chronologically, breaking down what happened and reacting to it in order. So it was built to actually make it so you didn't have to watch the anime. Like conceptually, I wanted it to be that if you just wanted to listen to someone describe the show instead of actually watching it, you could just go listen to the podcast and we will tell you everything about the show, you know, by the time it's over. So that was the sort of conceit. But we haven't been able to do it in a long time because, you know, Bird got a regular job and, well, we both had a weird job, but the hours we had together, you know, the only thing we were doing creatively was this podcast. Wasn't making that much money though, not nearly as much as I'm making doing live streams. So, you know, this is the meta right now. This is where my head is at. Keep the live streams going for them super chats, because the super chat rant requests, they keep me on the walk. You know, I keep walking, I keep walking, I keep walking. Actually, lately, as I walk around in the sun and feel the beautiful air and hear the birds and just think how nice it is out, I cannot stop thinking, Chiru-miru, 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 Chiru-miru. And I still don't know if anybody knows what I mean by that. One day everyone will understand. Nobody is saying anything in the chat. I need interaction, y'all. I'm not just an endless wellspring of thought. I'm having a nice time outdoors. But maybe that's fine. Maybe you don't need to talk. Maybe you're like, vibe. 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 Hey. If keeping focus on the plot is difficult for me, what is well, I just watch it with somebody who can keep track of the plot. These days, my stance on art and media is that it's all garbage, and that you should go outside and do something meaningful with your life, or pay me to do it. Those are the only things I respect anymore, is going outside and doing stuff, or if you can't, pay me to do it so you can live vicariously through my experiences. That's where I'm at. Anime, the only real reason to watch anime is so you can listen to me and Bird talk about it. It's not that good by itself, you know? It needs that little extra spice, a little tricksy dust of magic. God damn it, I keep trying to hit the heart button and it opens up the stupid comment menu. Omar Fejzik with 199. Oh, any amendments to your idea of the bathysphere? Bathysphere. Was that something I taught, like a word I made up in my bathos video? Bathysphere. Well, I'll just talk about bathos, you know? I mean, bathos is just the idea of stuff going from, like, what is it? The exalted to the ordinary? I think that's the phrasing that they use in, like, the Wiktionary definition or something. But I just tend to use it to mean emotional whiplash, or BPD storytelling, you know? Angel Beats is probably the most well-known example of an anime that I would consider just pure bathos, where it's like super sad and then super funny and then super sad and then super funny, and it's fucking constant whiplash. But like, the emotions always hit, And that's what makes it so weird. Like, a lot of people hate it because they look at it as like, oh, it's so all over the place. But it's like, it's just that it's uncomfortable because you're like in one feeling and then you get ripped out of that feeling into another feeling. And you're like, fuck, Jesus Christ, you know? And I like to think that I capture some of that in these streams. You know, there's something about the innate violence of my human experience, you know, just being a person out in the world and therefore inflicting myself on all the creatures and habitats and sound environments, and then the bliss and beauty of what is there for me to conquer, you know? It's that constant like, why isn't a better person out there enjoying all this beauty? And it could be you. But if you don't believe that, then you might as well just, you know, pay me to do it. Everywhere I am, I'm always unsure how it is that anyone else isn't there, you know? Do you feel that way? Does anybody else get that? Like that weird feeling, particularly when you're having a nice moment. Like when you're just in a nice place, having a nice moment, and you're like, how am I the only, and I'm not the only one here. There's like maybe 40, 50 people at this park right now, and everybody looks like they're having exactly as good of a time as I am. They're like, all right, yeah, nice day, walking around. Some guys playing basketball. There's dudes just out for a walk, walking their dogs, flying a kite with his kids, you know, cute little corgis. I'm out here being a sociopath and begging for money on the internet. It's a beautiful day. What is there not to be happy about, and how could anyone not be here? I'm getting back on that stage. The tragedy of a 9-to-5 society, I guess. That's true. It is a lot of that. It's weird, right? Wouldn't it? It's weird that the best hours of day are the ones we give to work, but at the same time, that's when you're gonna do your best work. I guess it's just a shame that a lot of people don't enjoy their work, you know? Bird works really, really hard, but he enjoys his work, so I'm sure he's out there enjoying that it's a nice day as well, you know? I'm enjoying my work. I'm not making as rapido of the super chate as I might love, but you know, it is what it is. I can't get angry at myself for other people not wanting to give me money. I can only get angry at myself for not already having money, you know? I've been talking about money a lot on these streams. I wonder if that's going to continue. Well, I guess it has to for at least this year, because I'm at war with that anime snob to end the year with more money. Did you guys hear about that anime snob wants to try to, like, I don't know, sue me or something? Because I said I'd murder him or whatever, you know? Somebody said in my comments, they're like, yeah, snob wants my help pursuing legal action on you. I told him it's probably not a good idea. I was thinking, what would be a funnier way for me to win the contest? So if you haven't been paying attention to my streams, you know, I went to war with that anime snob. Somebody asked me to say something nice about him. I said that he probably has more money than me and that he could take that W and run with it. He could go ahead and say that he has more money than me, just as long as he doesn't dead name me or call me a pedophile in his video. Because if he did either of those things, I would have to murder him. And then he made a video about how I said I was going to murder him, although he didn't. He followed the rules. So he kind of blew his own premise there of saying that I was going to kill him, because why would I be going to kill you if you acquiesced to my demands? That doesn't make any fucking sense. This wouldn't be a murder threat, it would be like extortion or something, right? Just like bullying. I don't know, is that like a law? Can you not bully people into not doing something through threats? I don't know. I don't actually know what legal action he could pursue, because I'm pretty sure there's none. But how funny would it be, though, if he did try to pursue that and spent, because we know he only has $8 grand. I have 200 and, no, I just spent $120 on my errand. So I have $150. So I have $150. He has $8 grand. Both of us. That's our total in the bank. I don't know that he still has, he could have more or less than that now, but this was what his answer a few days ago. I had 40 at the time, so I've already gone up. I don't know if he's gone up or down, but I've gone up. So if he were to sue me and waste all of his money on a frivolous lawsuit trying to sue a poor person, most likely, even if he did get whatever money I made, he wouldn't get it until next year. And so I would still have all my money at the end of the year, and he would have spent all his money on lawyer fees by the end of the year. And if he tried to pursue it next year, it would already be too late. So I don't know. I don't know if it's a good idea for him, but it would be really funny for me. Would it be worth losing all of my money and potentially going to jail next year just to beat Snob in a dumb internet contest I made up this year? Yes, obviously. Of course. Of course it would be. Y'all are getting deep in the chat. Funny, this has been a yearly beef. It's been a long time since I've actually acknowledged that anime snob. I'm sure he's kept talking about me every year, but I have not actually talked. Yeah, why does Apple push through calls that they themselves label potential spam? I don't want it. Never will I ever answer a call that is labeled potential spam. And sometimes there are sometimes it just says like, oh, we blocked a call. It was a spam call. And I'm like, okay, why do I still get the potential spam calls? Most people had not heard of that anime snob until I mentioned him at one point or another. Well, because like, his whole gimmick was basically trying to punch up at every popular anime YouTuber that's bigger than him, and most of them just ignored him because he's a nobody. I wanted to understand him because I basically see him as a lolcow, like he's a guy who, whether the people who are on his side necessarily agree with him or not, they like that he's a shitlord. Like, people keep him alive because he will go and do these things, because he's willing to go and shit on all of the other anime YouTubers and just be this big asshole about anime, be super anti-queer and super fucking I don't know, whatever. He's just an angry Greek man, but he does it all with that like mustache twirling, haha, like, I am the evil Greek, haha, so he's sort of a weird anti-hero to his crowd, But that's a small subset of people. It's just enough to keep him having a community and being online, And I kind of get that. I don't think I'm that different. I didn't even at the time, It was kind of like, I think what I was basically trying to put forward to Snob was that he was really holding himself back from being able to work with people or make money because his approach was so incendiary. It's like, because in the conversation I had with him, he was like, it's supposed to be like wrestling. Like, he literally said he wants to be a wrestling heel. And I'm like, yeah, but nobody else wants to be in your wrestling league if we're supposed to be in the same market, like if my audience is supposed to go watch your videos and then come watch my videos, you can't make it impossible for my audience to like your videos. Like, we have to be playing in the same league, or else you're always going to be at the minor league and everyone else is going to be playing majors, And it's just a matter of like not having to be the most edgy you can all the time. But some people are like, I will sacrifice any amount of success to be as edgy as I can all the time. And I respect it. I'm pretty close to being that way. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not that far off from being like Snob. But I just don't try to, like, I don't know, I have some allies. Like, there are people I like. I'm not out to try to fucking make everybody upset, you know? Like, I'm out to make people I don't like upset. It's weird to me that Snob can just like throw shit in all directions, you know? So I think that's kind of why I'm so fascinated with him. And even with this, like, I started this war with him, and his response, like, I mean, it made me laugh because I was taken aback by how profoundly homophobic he decided to be. That he didn't paint it as, like, just me is the problem. He painted it as, like, I am the representative of all queers being evil now. And I was like, wow, like, this is a great way to make sure that anybody I tell about you will hate you. You know, like, anybody who finds out about this through my end and then goes like, I'm gonna look into this Snob guy, maybe I would take his side, and they're gonna listen to that video and go, oh, well, geez, you know? I mean, I'll subscribe, but but geez. I don't even think he got a whole lot of views on that video, actually. It was like under 2K. I didn't even get a lot of views on my video, War with That Anime Snob. I thought, you know, I had this theory that if you put war in the name of the stream, it will get more views, because my gender war double agent video and my Kendrick Lamar's War on Pedophiles videos both got a lot of views. But War with That Anime Snob barely has even gotten up to 2K. So it just proves that he's not that interesting of a subject matter. It's unfortunate. I wish I had better bullies. Like, I wish people were talking about me who had an audience and reach and fans I could convert by being better than them while they're trying to make fun of me. But all the people who suck more than me and are bigger than me won't talk about me or acknowledge me. Fucking The Critical Drinker never acknowledged when I made that whole video about how he didn't watch that fucking Thor movie. I ranted about that motherfucker for an hour and a half. He didn't say a word. So, you know, the people at the top, they basically view it as like, if you don't have the clout to make people, like, to make them lose their audience, they're just not going to acknowledge you at all, because otherwise they're just empowering you to turn their audience on them, you know? So, yeah, obviously he didn't watch the fucking movie. If he had watched it, he would have made a comeback and said, no, you're wrong, and just made me look like a huge idiot. But instead, he kept his mouth shut, which was smart, but also a huge pussy move, because I know he knows I made that video. You know, I'll probably never get any of those EFAP guys to acknowledge that they all ripped off my gimmick and have never even given me a word of lip service about it. You know, like, literally none of them would have careers if I hadn't invented the entire space in which they operate, and then they took it and made it right-wing because that's more popular on YouTube than being trans. Cowards who will not dare to utter the name Trixie the Golden Witch out of shaking fear of my intellectual prowess that would destroy them right where they stand, like a lightning bolt, and just simply leave nothing but cinders. Who else do I need to talk shit about? John De La Rose. I've talked shit about that guy like 5 times and he hasn't acknowledged it once, and he's a nobody. So that's definitely cowardice. He would stand nothing but to gain from going to war with me if he really wanted his, you know, his fan base engaged. He could just go to war with a trans writer. Problem is, I'm a better writer than him. My comic's going to be better than anything he's ever put out, way more popular than anything he's ever put out. So, you know, I won't talk too big game. My comic ain't done. I don't got one out. I'm just saying it will be better than anything John De La Rose has ever done. That guy's a fucking hack. I'm pretty sure AI writes his comics. I read a couple of them, like, you know, a couple pages of them, I mean, that I could stomach of that garbage. Who else sucks? Critical Drinker, Mahler, fucking John De La Rose, Eric July, obviously. Eric July acknowledges all his other haters. He's always bitching and moaning about all of his fucking detractors, how he's gonna riddle them with bullets and all this shit. Hasn't even mentioned me once. I did an entire verse about him. I have another whole verse in my phone that I haven't gotten around to recording yet because he never responded to the first fucking diss. Why are they all such pussies? I don't get it. I am a 5'8", 130-pound trans woman with a tiny following. It should be easy for all these big chauvinistic men to just take me right out of the frame, but none of them will even touch it. Gary always at $2. Why Deracine rant about art as behavior does not equal skill? Those two different rants, you can't just sandwich two different rants in there because you have the fucking typing space. Why Deracine? Deracine is the name of a From Software game directed by Miyazaki, who did all the, you know, the Souls games and such. And it's a VR game. I only played a little bit of it, but it is really interesting, and the aesthetic spoke to me a lot. And I looked up what the word meant, and it means wanderer in French. And so I made that, I don't know, it's like my middle name on Facebook or something as a lark, just because. Have I used it anywhere else? I don't remember ever. Maybe I used it on maybe I used it on like some of the writing I was doing when I first transitioned before I like picked a full name. I don't know. It's just a cool name. Cool thing to have in your name. Beatrice Deracine. Ooh, sounds French. Gary West was another $2 for the second rant because of that tweet you RT'd. Okay, I thought that might be what you were referring to. Yeah, so this was an interesting post someone made where they were talking about the unfortunate fact that art and singing and dancing have been sort of commodified into skills and things that people are expected to be good at if they're going to do it, which really discourages lots of people from doing something that is very natural to most people, you know, like just bursting into song, bursting into dance, expressing yourself through drawing or writing or whatever. Like, actually, beyond being normal, I would describe it as necessary. Like, for a lot of people, it is a necessary part of processing information. And when you start holding yourself back deliberately from doing it out of self-consciousness, you're like limiting your ability to process information, to like live your life properly, you know? And people, they get so up in their heads about like, well, I'm not a writer, why would I write? And it's like, well, I don't know, it's a fucking thing to do, you know? You don't have to be a writer to write a thing. You know, it's interesting because I'm obviously of the opinion that there's no way to determine something is objectively good. There's just taste, you know? And most people's taste is just whatever they're used to, and what they're used to is usually whatever is put in front of them by people who have the ability to put something in front of them, you know? And so there's plenty of stuff that I love that is not popular, or that a lot of people might not consider good even if they had been exposed to it, but that I think is very good. And like a lot of the times, like the people who made that stuff, they did not have, like, they weren't considered good by enough people to have a career doing it. So it is really just a thing they were doing. I speak on this because this is my music, you know, like my music's just a thing I've been doing for 10 plus years. I've made some money off of it, like $6 grand total on my Bandcamp all time. you know, over 10 years, not a lot of money, not spending money. So, like, yeah, it's just a thing I'm doing because I like doing it. And, like, I get a lot of pushback. I get a lot of pushback for promoting my music. I get a lot of pushback for doing it at all. You know, like, people are always trying to shame me out of making music because it doesn't sound as good as whatever they listen to. And I'm like, first of all, you listen to dog shit. And second of all, I am not going to stop making music because you don't like it. You know, it's not fucking for you. So, yeah, it's just baffling to me how much people are, like, judgmental, both of themselves and of others, about, like, not being good at a thing that they're doing. Just, it's like, yeah, but do I need to be? Who am I trying to impress? I just want to make the thing, you know? Like, you put it out into the world because maybe somebody will like it. If they don't, oh well? People get, like, offended by not liking something. They're like, I can't believe you did a thing that wasn't perfect for my taste. Like, it happens, dude. Actually, most of what I do in a day-to-day basis would not be perfectly to your taste, I would assume, you know? Yeah, I mean, I'm not keen on every song I've ever made. I organize my track lists usually from best to worst to some degree, you know, unless it's just a really good album. But, you know, like, if you go listen to Rescues and Rarities, I want to say the first 10 are songs that I'm like, I can reasonably see people liking these. And then the next 10 are like, yeah, I think these are pretty good. I like them. And then the next 10 are like, these are fine, they're listenable. And then the last 10 are like, all right, you want to hear some weird shit that I did at 3 a.m. One night, drunk, that I barely remember? Here you go. I listened to it because I connect to the emotions and I understand what I was going for. Do I think you will? Probably not. But I've never published almost anything that no one liked. It's incredibly rare. I can't think of one off the top of my head. And sometimes I'm really shocked or surprised because I didn't think anybody liked it until, like, a ways in. Like, for instance, I made this song called Time Skips. I really like Time Skips. It's a fucking weird song, but it's very intentfully weird, and it sounds exactly how it's supposed to. And when I released it, I got, like, no positivity, you know, nobody in my personal life really cared about it, nobody I released it to online. And then I think I had to pull it from SoundCloud or something, I don't remember. Somebody was having a hard time finding it for whatever reason. They left a comment like, hey, where do I find Time Skips? That's one of my favorite songs of yours. And I was like, motherfucker, for real? Like, I can't believe there's a Time Skips fan. Wow. Like, you know, it's just one of those things where I only publish something if I think I wouldn't totally hate to have to see it again, you know? But I usually, even then, I don't know, I don't go back to my own content as much as people who like it more than I do, you know? Maybe just because I'm more interested in whatever my own current thoughts are than my past thoughts, you know? But, like, I definitely listen more to my own music than I do to, like, consume any other type of my content. Like, I don't go back and watch my videos or anything like that. I just go back and listen to my songs for the most part. Now, granted, in part, that's because I don't want to see any of my old videos where I'm all beardy and shit. But also, there's a lot of my old songs that I don't like listening to because they're about, like, past relationships that I'm like, oh, God, I really said that about this relationship? That was stupid, you know? So, you know, plenty of skips for me in my own catalog, but I feel very personally about all of it, so that's not too surprising, I guess, when you've put basically your entire life into content, as I have. Well, I've been going about an hour. It's hot, I'm getting parched. Super chats are coming in slow this stream. And I'm thinking it might be time for me to go home and do a stream where I edit my new anime video. Because it's time. It is time for that video to be edited. And you know, I've been struggling with, well, if I spend all day editing this video and I don't get a live stream done, how will I make any money? And then I realized, duh, live stream editing the video, why wouldn't I do that? Have I listened to any of Kendrick's diss tracks? Oh, my friend, I have, you should go watch my video about, right here on this channel, the end of millennial culture, Kendrick versus Drake. I have a 45-minute video about it. I have continued talking about it in streams since then. I also have a video about BBL Drizzy, so check out all that. Alright, that's it for this little stream.